Right back, no there. Sorry, I don't know if I'm just the best, but it must be done this time. Right back to Wilbur. Come on, move them on there. Come on, back, move them on, back.
Hello everyone and welcome to Era Military Collectibles. So in today's mannequin, what we're covering is a British soldier at the very start of Op Banner or the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Just a quick brief history. There was massive civil unrest in Northern Ireland in 1969. Even prior to 1969 you had civil rights marches going on, you had civil rights groups being formed and started up. You had Catholic areas being burnt down, you had reprisals then on the other side, whereas Protestant areas were being attacked. You had famous incidents then happen in Belfast, like the burning of Bombay Street. So there was nearly on the verge of a civil war at that stage in Northern Ireland, and the British government in August 1969 sent in the British Army. And the reason the British Army were sent in was because the RUC at that time was on its knees. It was literally involved after riot after riot after riot. The Catholic areas, or the Catholic minority in Ireland or in Northern Ireland, did not trust the RUC at that stage, and they were starting. The manpower was just exhausted at that stage, and they needed reinforcements, and the British Army were sent in, as I said, in August 1969. When the British Army went in, there was a lull, if you get me. The fighting actually dropped. The first British soldier that was actually killed was killed by a Protestant mob in Belfast. He was shot. The soldiers were loved at that stage by the Catholic areas. You can read about it, whereas they were seen as saviours. They were brought out coffee, tea, sandwiches, everything was brought out to the British soldiers in the Catholic areas. Then all of a sudden politics kicked in, the army was used in a different way, and the fighting commenced again. So that's just a brief history of the politics and the history that goes on there. I know that I could go on for hours and hours and hours about the history, and I try not to bring politics into it, and I try not to bring any different side into it. We're totally impartial here. Everything we say is fact and documented fact. So we'll just get back to the mannequin. So initially they did not have what would later become was the famous Mark IV riot helmets. They literally had just the standard Mark IVs, and even some guys had Mark III's helmets on their heads to protect their heads. You will see them with gas masks on as well. I will be covering the respirator systems and the gas masks in a later video. The jacket that they would have worn, you would see them either wearing jackets or you'd see them wearing a woolly pulley jumper, the old style woolly pulley jumper, but the jackets they actually wore the 60 pattern jacket in olive drab. Initially you don't see them wearing flak jackets and body armour. There was a shortage of flak jackets and body armour. An awful lot of the British soldiers that ended up in Northern Ireland had come from Germany. They came from the Army of the Rhine and things like that, so they were in garrison in Germany and places like that. So they literally arrived with the bare equipment that they had on them. So you don't see them with the flak jackets, which would later become the M60. They got American ones. They got the M53A and they got the M69, if I believe is the correct designation for it, which is the collar one. They were the first flak jackets that they got, and you could see them being intermixed in photos and archive footage and stuff like that, all the way up until they pretty much adopted the M69 with the pads on the shoulders and other little changes that they did with it. So the jacket, as I said, is the 60 pattern jacket with the 58 pattern webbing. Initially you see them wearing their full webbing, and then eventually you see them starting to strip it down. So they would have worn the webbing complete when they initially went on the streets. There's some famous footage of them. You see the guys marching with no riot shields, no batons, no nothing, literally their SLRs with their FNs or SLRs, with bayonets fixed across their chests and marching into the areas. That's how initially they went into these areas to try and quell the trouble. So I'm just going to take the helmet off and we're going to take the webbing off. We all know what the 58 pattern webbing looks like. This jacket is original, the webbing is original, and the helmet is original. The helmet is 1955. The webbing is a multitude of different dates, but the jacket is 1962. You do see a DPM variant of this, but the green olive drab was the common one that you see. The DPM was an interim one that they brought out in a hurry prior to bringing out the 68 pattern jacket. So if you look at the jacket here, there's two breast pockets, angled breast pockets. Now if you look at this and you look at similarities to the Irish DPM jacket or Irish jacket, combat jacket, they're very, very similar. The pockets are probably the only difference, but a lot of it is similar. We probably will do a comparison between the two jackets. But you've angled flat pockets. This, depending who you ask, is a biro pocket, and another one people say it's a chemical where you could slot in a chemical detector. I don't know. Soldiers will make use of things if it's put in front of them. I'd say it's probably a biro pocket. It could be a chemical detection pin pocket. I'm not sure. So we have two flat pockets on top. We have two pockets on the hips, shall we say, with slight scallops on them, the scallops in the chest pockets. These did at one point in time have a pleat in the centre, but over time they've washed out. There's none in the top. You have a stitched collar with an extra loop here that is, you can fasten the collar for extra protection around your face. It would have had, I'm just turning around, it would have had a hood. So you button the hood onto the epaulets and onto the back. Single seam, draw cord in the centre, all the way down. It's nice jacket, good quality jacket. The only problem is the material it was made of. I think they were a cotton composite, and when they got wet they were extremely heavy. The thing you would see the guys do with the hoods off them is they use the hoods as helmet covers. That's a common thing you see them doing. So that's pretty much it. That is the jacket, the helmet and the webbing that you would have seen them initially marching into the streets of Belfast and Derry / Londonderry, wearing to quell the civil unrest in the 60s. So if you like what we provide here at Era Military Collectibles, please like, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and if you want to get in contact with the channel, as always, the email will be at the top of the video description. Thank you.